mob to a king? What's a king to a god? What's a god to a non-believer who don't believe in anything?
Hello and welcome in. It's time for another episode of Futbol Weekly with Noah Taborda. And it's been a very busy week in soccer, as we all know, all of the soccer fans out there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my first episode. Seemed like you guys did. So we're going to get started. The number to call if you have any thoughts or comments, and even if you don't know much about soccer, call in, ask a question. The number is 224-563-8444. So go ahead, give the call. I don't bite. I don't penalize people who give bad questions, unless you're just bashing somebody, which in that case I may. I'll bash you back. But, let's get started with the show. And we're going to start off, obviously, with transfers. So the transfer deadline came and went, and wow, was it a busy, busy deadline. Lots of big-time deals going down. And we're going to start with our biggest dealers, the big people who brought in the big players, or who dealt a lot maybe, and we're going to start, obviously, with the team that made some of the biggest splashes, and we're going to start with the biggest splash of all, and that would obviously be Gareth Bale going to Real Madrid, and what a big deal. I mean, that was an insane amount of money. It went down to be 100 million euros, and that's no cheap amount. That'll break the record for Cristiano Ronaldo, and it's an obscene amount for a player who hasn't necessarily shown that he is worth that 100 million, that he's worth more than Cristiano Ronaldo. So I think it's a little ridiculous, but they did it, and I personally think it's a pretty good signing. I like Gareth Bale. I think that besides the amount, they got good value. 24-year-old, obviously very young. Unfortunately for Tottenham, they lost one of their best players. We'll get to Tottenham later, though. But a 6-year contract with Real, and it's worth about 170,000 euros a week. So that's a pretty nice amount of money for a young man. So it's a big deal for them. They're bringing in another solid midfield to add to their repertoire of Isco and, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo. As they're very similar players. They both play as midfielders that attack a lot. Ronaldo, obviously not known for his defense, and Bale isn't a very great defender either. So it'll be interesting to see what formation Real plays. If they decide to go with 5 midfielders and Benzema up top, and put a guy like Khedira and Xabi Alonso as center defensive mids in order to basically balance it out. Because if your wingers can't defend and you're only playing with 4 midfielders and Isco is an attacking midfielder, then you've lost your whole potent defense. And that's how many people remember Real Madrid playing. Obviously, against Barcelona, at times you would think, oh, well, they're just not good, they can't play. But they were waiting patiently for their opportunity, and hopefully they will be able to take advantage of that opportunity. And they were able to do it one year where they were able to take advantage of their opportunities and win La Liga, but it never panned out in the Champions League. So now it'll be interesting to see if Carlos Ancelotti decides to change up Mourinho's a little more with the addition of Bale now and go to a more offensive midfield. But if I were him, I would do, as I said, I would put in Khedira and Xabi Alonso as center defensive mids, have Isco in front of him. Obviously, you'll have Bale on the right or left, and Ronaldo on the opposite side. Up top, you'll have Benzema, and in the back, you can have Carvajal, Varane, Sergio Ramos, Pepe, and, there's been a lot of controversy over the goalie, but it looks like for right now, it'll be Diego Lopez in goal. So, considering how great Casillas has been, it seems like he's coming out of favor, but hopefully, he gets his shots, and he can impress, but Diego Lopez has been solid, and there's no reason you don't break what's working. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, and that's what they gotta follow. They don't want to change and tweak things that are currently working for them, and that's what they gotta keep in mind. And we'll continue with a little bit more Bale. So, as I said before, it was an obscene amount of money spent on Gareth Bale, and the question now is, how is Real Madrid going to be able to get back that amount of money they just used? Well, their plan is using kind of his popularity. So they were basically saying how his jerseys, they're saying Bale will sell, according to an AS story, Bale will sell 40,000 jerseys a season, which is a crazy amount of jerseys. It's a lot of money made there. So that'll be helping pay it back. Obviously, tickets being sold will obviously earn them their money. That's how they make most of their money. And he also has his own brand, Bale does, called 11 of Hearts, which apparently now is kind of they're working with Real Madrid, so Real Madrid's somehow going to benefit out of that. He makes up to 3 million pounds a year with that, and so that's a solid amount of money, continuing on the path of getting back to their financial level. Even though they are insanely rich for a soccer team, it's still a lot of money to spend, and they still have to get back some of that money. So yeah, it seems like it's going on the right track, and they have been trying. There's been a lot of other players trying to leave, actually. One of the players I mentioned a little bit ago, who I think they should play at center defensive mid, is Sami Khedira, the German international center defensive midfielder. Apparently had a bid that failed to go through with Manchester United. Obviously, he wasn't happy with his playing time. Maybe he thought that there would be a better opportunity at another team, but he decided to try his luck, trying to get out of Real Madrid. Unfortunately, it did not go through, and he's not the only one who actually wanted to go to Manchester United. Lots of rumors were swirling around Fabio Contrao this offseason. Some thought he was going to AS Monaco, others thought he was going to Manchester United, and Manchester United apparently did go after Fabio Contrao. Unfortunately, it did not work out. Fabio Contrao, it was said that he was a little upset because of his lack of playing time at Real Madrid. Obviously, Marcelo was taking up his spot, Varane, and now Dani Carvajal. So it's very difficult to get playing time when you have a lot of quality players there. And he gets so much time on Portugal. He's very solid on Portugal, but obviously he wasn't what Real Madrid were looking for. So hopefully he does get his playing time. You know, you don't want to see a player that is quality not getting the time he deserves. So next, we're going to go to a couple of big signings they made besides Bale, obviously. They went out and signed Illaramendi for $34 million, for 34 million pounds, which is a lot of money. A very talented young midfielder, and it should be a good signing there. Then, of course, as I just mentioned, one of my projected starters for Real Madrid, they went out and signed Daniel Carvajal from Bayern Leverkusen. So that's another big deal. And, of course, one of the best signings, I'll get to my top 20 later. We'll see where this comes in, where Bale comes in, all of those, is Isco. They went out and got Isco, who was Malaga's best player last year, was one of the main reasons they went to the quarterfinals and almost defeated Borussia Dortmund. Unfortunately, they did not, but big player, has a lot of talent, but unfortunately his signing and Bale's signing kicked one of the best players at Real Madrid out, and that would be Mesut Ozil going to Arsenal for £44 million. Lots of money. That's another one of the ways they're trying to make back their Bale money. So that's a big signing for Arsenal, a terrific signing. And before I go on, I just want to quickly, in about maybe like 2 minutes here, say why I think Isco is a better signing than Ozil. So, actually, no. I'll do that during my top 20. Talk about that then. So we can, move on go through it, but obviously, as I said, Ozil to Arsenal. And then we're going to move on to our next team, who signed a trio of Real Madrid players, and that would be Napoli. And Napoli, obviously, you guys would know them because they lost Edison Cavani, one of the best strikers in soccer, terrific in the air, great header of the ball, and they lost him to Paris Saint-Germain. But I think they had a good offseason, one of my top 5. They went out and signed Gonzalo Higuain from Real Madrid, Raul Biol from Real Madrid, and Jose Maria Callejon also from Real Madrid. 3 solid players. Higuain rotated in and out of the starting lineup. Albiol got a lot of playing time for Real, so that's 2 good players. And Callejon would come off the bench and was very good, in my opinion. So those are 3 good signings, trying to boost them up after losing Cavani, trying to pull themselves back up into the upper echelon of Italy, and I think this will help them get back up there. Already a lot of solid players. Zuniga is very good, and they added another Colombian. They added Pablo Armero, a very good Colombian defender. As a Colombian and a Colombian soccer fan, I know that he's very good. He's not necessarily a stud or a star, but he has solid defensive abilities. And Colombia, which is currently number 1 in defense for the World Cup qualifying in South America, Armero is a key part of that. So he's very good. I like the signing. And last but not least, they signed the 30-year-old Pepe Reina, the goalkeeper from Liverpool. So obviously trying to make sure they have a solid goalkeeper. So yeah, that's some solid signings. Nothing that you really say jumps out at you, but good signings nonetheless. So next, let's move on to Tottenham Hotspur. And what probably is resonating in your mind right now from the past section is Gareth Bale leaving Tottenham. And you might be thinking, well, how are they going to rebound if they lose their best player? If they lose the heart and soul of that team? Well, obviously, they're not on this list for losing their best player. They're on it for gaining a lot of really good players. So, they went out and signed Christian Eriksen from Ajax for $12 million. A young stud starlet, very good player. I like the signing, trying to build up their midfield again. They went out and signed Eric Lamela from Roma for $26.5 million. So that's a little more, but still a solid signing. Lamela is obviously very talented. They signed French international Etienne Capoue from Toulouse for $10 million. He was rumored to go to AS Monaco, but obviously not heading there, and he'll be heading to the English Premier League, to Tottenham. Then they also signed Roberto Soldado from Valencia for $26.5 million. In my opinion, a terrific signing. Soldado's an excellent player. Played for Spain during the Confederations Cup. Very good. Very talented. And then they signed Paulinho from Corinthians for around $17 million. So they're obviously making splashes. And I think they got better. I don't think they got worse. Bale, obviously a great player, but all of these signings made them better than they were before. I don't think the loss of Bale makes them worse. I think they spent their money wisely, and they gave up possibly their best player. Not possibly, definitely. They gave up definitely their best player, but in return, they got 5 quality players that could all be potential starters. So, it's like you are on an NFL team. Take, for example, you have one good quarterback. So, you can either keep that one good quarterback and have average play, or not as you can either keep that one good quarterback and have a good team around you, but not a great team, or you can get rid of that one good quarterback, bring in a good one star quarterback, and bring in one good quarterback, and build the rest of your team around it. So obviously, it's always better to have 5 stars or 5 potential stars rather than one superstar, in my opinion. So, after Tottenham, we have my 4th team, which is Borussia Dortmund. They obviously lost one of their best players, Mario Götze. See, a lot of these teams I'm talking about have lost a lot of quality players, but they're still on these lists because a good, smart management always knows that just because you lose some of your best players doesn't mean that you're out. You have to keep pushing. And Borussia Dortmund did exactly that. They went out and signed Henrik Mkhitaryan from Shakhtar Donetsk for $27.5 million. Then they went out and got Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, one of my favorite players in FIFA, from Saint Etienne for $11.5 million. And then they signed Socrates, in case you don't know who he is. He's the Greek player with the ridiculously long name that can't fit on his jersey. I believe it is Papastatopoulos. So that didn't fit. So Socrates, and they signed him from Werder Bremen for $8.5 million. So all young, talented players. Once again, just like Tottenham did, they're being smart. They lost Mario Götze, possibly their best player. You could also debate Marco Reus or Robert Lewandowski. But they brought in 3 more good players, and I think this sets them up again to be in contention for that Bundesliga title as well as the UEFA Champions League. And that's how you do it. If you lose such a talented player, you have to go out and sign big players. You can't hang your head and say, oh, we're out. We don't have these players anymore. So it's just all about using your money wisely and knowing what you're doing with your money. So that's a good decision there. I like what they did. Next, we're going to move on to Manchester City, who signed a trio of very talented forwards. They signed Jesus Navas, Alvaro Negredo, and Stevan Jovetic. All young, talented players. Navas came from Sevilla. Jovetic came from Fiorentina, so that's a lot of good players. Jovetic has a lot of room to develop, but he's going to be really good. Jesus Navas, a current player for Spain, plays a lot. Negredo for Spain as well. So they went out and signed 3 more big forwards, and now they can add them to Sergio Aguero and Edin Dzeko. So that's a stacked board. Imagine if they hadn't let go of Tevez and Balotelli. That'd have been 6 legitimate forwards. That's ridiculous. Obviously, they're using their money smart. I like those deals. And, those are my top 5. So, if you agree or disagree, call in 224-563-8444. Or you can call in. Or you can text that number, 224-563-8444. Give me your opinion on everything. And let's just say a couple of other big transfers before we go to our first commercial break. You got to talk about AS Monaco. The reason I didn't put them up there is because despite a lot of big signings, now it's looking like Falcao may go soon. Maybe he'll stay this year or maybe he'll stay this half a year, but it's looking like he's going. So I didn't want to put them up there. I think they made some great signings. Radamel Falcao, James Rodriguez, João Moutinho, Jeremy Toulalan. So many talented players were signed. Lots of big deals. Falcao, obviously, the best player on the Colombian national team. Terrific goal scorer for Atletico Madrid. One of the big reasons that they competed last year. Also, I wouldn't say the only reason, but, he is one of the bigger reasons. James Rodriguez from Porto. Very talented lefty. Was part of the U21 Colombian team with with Luis Muriel that was so competitive. He's been very solid on Colombia. Very talented. A lot of people have compared his game to Cristiano Ronaldo's game. Not saying he's at the same level, but saying that he has the talent to be up there. And João Moutinho, his teammate on Porto. Very talented center attacking mid for Portugal. Highly sought after. Lots of teams were looking to get him. And AS Monaco, of course, swooped up and got all of these talented players. And then they signed Isco's counterpart on Malaga, in my opinion, the second best player on their team last year. Jeremy Toulalan, center defensive mid. Very good signing. So they're obviously building their team up, and it's looking very good. They signed Eric Abidal on a free transfer. Carvalho on a free transfer. So lots of good, talented players. And there were lots of rumors that Hulk was almost on his way out there. Last week I talked about another one of their players who was on the way out there, but it didn't end up happening. But they are still obviously willing to spend the big cash. My only concern is their coach. I just dislike their coach. Not, in my opinion, a good coach. Seems to be contradicting every statement that he says. I just don't like Ranieri, but we'll see. But that's another one of the big teams. Let's also talk about Mamadou Sakho. He's heading to Liverpool on a big deal. Very young, talented center back, very good player, and I like the deal for them as well. So that's a couple of our big signings, and you got to top it off with my opinion, a big signing, but not for the price that you really want it to go down. Miranda Fellaini, in case you don't know who he is, he's a Belgium international, played for Everton, very solid player, and it's been rumored that he's going to Manchester United for so long, and it hadn't gotten through, and then finally they make the deal. That's big, but they paid an obscene amount of money, amount of money. You could sign Kevin Strootman for $15 million less, and he's a better player. Obviously, that is saying that Strootman wanted to come, but it's a little questionable. It seems a little desperate from David Moyes. Hopefully, this is just some jitters. David Moyes came from Everton, so he may think that's what Fellaini's worth. We'll see. Maybe the transfer does pan out. Maybe it is worth that amount of money, but at this moment, it looks like a little bit too much. But, there's always that chance. So, yeah, those are my big deals. Those are my big transfers. The big teams, my big 5 or 6 if you include AS Monaco. So that was good. Again, if you have any thoughts, call the number 224-563-8444. So we're going to go to commercial break. When we come back, we're going to be doing some table breakdowns. Big things going on in Europe just at the beginning of the year, but still a lot to talk about. And right before we do that, I'm going to do some of my top transfers, probably top 10, top 5, probably not 20, but I'll say some of my other big ones. So when we get back, and obviously I said I'll talk about Isco and Ozil, I'll compare them. So, stick around. Hopefully you're enjoying the episode. And if you're enjoying it, then stay tuned. And we'll be right back.
Your presentation of national sports is brought to you by Spreaker.com. Broadcast and listen to news, radio, and music with one low monthly rate. Your show will be right back after this word from your local stations. You can contact National Sports in a number of ways through Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter with the label National Sports. We love to have you guys a part of our show and can easily join us also through text or call. You're listening to the National Sports radio station on Spreaker.com. America's pastime of baseball is changing as we know it into a sport we've never seen before. Where is the game headed in the next few years? Major League correspondent Cameron Sadeghi has the answer to that question next on the National Sports radio station from Los Angeles, California.
Welcome back in Football Weekly with Noah Taborda, our second episode. Wow, I just mispronounced my name. That's a little embarrassing. Noah Taborda, episode 2. Okay, that's embarrassing. Guys, don't mispronounce your name. That's just kind of, that's sad. You don't want to mispronounce your name, especially because you're you. But, off of that topic, we're going to head back into soccer. And as I said, my top 20 transfers, my top 10 transfers, and we are going to start with my number 10. I'm going to say Gareth Bale going to Real Madrid. As I said, it's a lot of money, and maybe not worth that money, but I still think it's a very good signing, young talent, for the same reasons I listed before, and he has time to develop, and I think he'll develop even faster on Real Madrid because, you've seen so many great players develop there, and hopefully he pans out to be what they want him to be. At number 9, I have this time a guy going to Tottenham, not leaving it, Eric Lamela, for, that's a great deal coming from Roma, very young player. I think he will produce well. I think he's a very good signing, especially for the amount of money they spent on him. Smart move. At number 8, I have Edison Cavani going from Napoli to Paris Saint-Germain. As I said, a great header in the air, very talented striker. Now partnering up with Zlatan Ibrahimovic makes one of the best partnerships in soccer. It's a great deal. $64 million. And I like it. I think Paris Saint-Germain got a lot better. And yeah, that's a good deal. So yeah, now let's go on to our next deal. And we're going to go at number 7 with Neymar to Barcelona for $57 million. Great deal. I like it a lot. A lot of people think Neymar has the potential to be a bust or that he won't shine as much as he would with Messi. But I like it. I think it's a good decision. And there was a lot of competition between them and Real, but obviously Barcelona, as time went on, seemed like the outright favorite. Next, we're going to go with, I believe this is number 6. And we are going to say, with number 6, Kevin Strootman. I mentioned him during my Mariano Fellaini conversation. As I said, you could sign him for almost 10 million less. And he went from PSV to Roma for 17 million euros. So that's a lot cheaper. He's a very talented player. In my opinion, better than Fellaini. Great deal. Smart deal. They're gonna love him there. He's gonna be a very good player. At number 5, a player that's much less well known. I'm gonna go with Juan Quintero, the Colombian, going from Atlético Nacional to Porto for only 5 million euros. And you're gonna say, well, he's a no-name. How can you be a top transfer? Only 5 million? Obviously not talented enough. Well, he's only 20 years old. He was debatably the best player in the U21 World Cup, and I've watched him in so many games, and he is a talent that you wouldn't believe. And another great signing by Porto. Brings a great center mid to the team, trying to build back up after losing Moutinho. He'll fit right in as his replacement. So great signing. And now we go to number 4, and we're going right back to Colombia again. And we're going to say Radamel Falcao to Monaco. It is rumored that he will be leaving, but that doesn't mean it wasn't a terrific signing. And by when I say he's leaving, I mean not he can't go anymore, but possibly the winter and next summer. I hope he stays. I like where Monaco's going. But, he's my number 4. Very talented striker. He's not necessarily the most skilled, but he knows where to be. He's always in the right place at the right time, and that's what makes a great player. A player who knows where to be when he needs to be there. At number 2, I go with Mario Gomez to Fiorentina. A deal that happened a while ago, but still a great deal. Mario Gomez, obviously a talent. Bayern Munich didn't see him as the player they wanted. He had lost favor on the first squad, so they sent him over to Fiorentina. Good deal there for Fiorentina. I like it a lot. So that is 8 of my top 10, and now we're going to the top 2, and they're both Real Madrid related. I talked about them earlier. Now the question is, who will be number 2 and who will be number 1? Will it be Mesut Ozil at number 1 from Real to Arsenal, or will it be Isco from Malaga to Real Madrid? Drum roll. At number 2, we have Mesut Ozil from Real Madrid to Arsenal. 50 million euros. Great signing. It's so difficult to say that Isco or Ozil was a better signing, but when it came down to it, I had to say Isco was the better signing, and here's why. I said I would do this now, and I'm going to do it now. Isco is only 21 years old. Ozil is 24. You may be saying, well, he might not pan out then, but this player has already shown that he is capable of being a world-class player. He was definitely, in my opinion, the number one reason why Malaga went to the quarterfinals, why they competed with Borussia Dortmund during that UEFA Under-21 UEFA Championship. He scored 3 goals in 3 games in a row. He scored 1 goal in 3 games in a row, so that's solid for a center attacking midfielder. He's very talented. Already has made his first cap with Spain. He's looked terrific in his first 3 games with Real Madrid, scoring 3 goals in his first 3 games. And as if that wasn't enough, they gained 20 million euros on the deal. So they signed a player that, in my opinion, could be better or equal to Mesut Ozil's skill level, and they got him for 20 million less. Terrific idea. They sold him for 50 million and brought in Isco, so they made $20 million on the deal. So they brought in a player, as I just said, who could be equal to or better than him, and they gained $20 million to help pay back that Bale deficit that they made by signing Gareth Bale. So that's another reason. And Isco, he could be a future Xavi. You know, he could be one of the best players that Spain has ever had. He's amazing. They were willing to get rid of Kaká and Ozil to bring him in. When you are willing to do that, you obviously know he's very talented. In his first 3 games, he's one of Madrid's key players. And the scariest thing is that he's going to get better and better and better and better. It's not done yet. He's going to be more and more talented. Ozil, obviously, you're going to say, oh, he can get more talented too, and I 100% agree. I wouldn't lie about that, but I think he's slowly coming to the point where he's not going to advance at the same rate that Isco is. Very talented, and I think now the big thing is that Isco has already proven that he can play with a team that's slightly less talented in Malaga. Now he's going to Real, where he already looks better. Now let's see if Ozil can perform at the same level, and sorry to all you Arsenal fans, if he can perform at the same level that he played at Real with Arsenal. If he can, you know that he's for real. I would have to reconsider which one I put at first. It would make it a lot closer than it is right now, even though this is ridiculously close already. But I want to see how he performs. You could already say, oh, well, he performed at Werder Bremen, but I still want to see how he does at Arsenal, especially now that he's developed a lot more at Real. But yeah, those are my top 20. If you have a better signing that you would like to say, call into 224-563-8444. Any signings that I left out that you disagreed with, any signings I put in that you disagree with. So yeah, call in. Every call is appreciated. It's nice to have callers because, I can bounce I can see how your ideas, I can get new input. Maybe it'll even change my opinion. But we got to move on now. Still call in if you have if you want to talk about that anyways. But we're going to move on to table breakdowns, and we're going to start with the English Premier League. Obviously, lots of stuff going on over there. Lots of new deals. Obviously, Gareth Bale, Mamadou Sakho going to Liverpool. So, the question is now, how do the teams go from here? And we're going to start by just talking about where they are. Liverpool obviously brought in Mamadou Sakho, and Liverpool is also at the top of the table. So that's a very good sign. They're bringing lots of good players. Daniel Sturridge on fire. Chelsea currently in second with 7 points. Man City with 6. Those 3 teams playing great. Arsenal with 6 points also. So those are all good teams that made some good signings over the summer. Mesut Ozil obviously will boost Arsenal. Then we have to go down 2 more spots and we get Tottenham. I expect them to move up to at least 5th. Manchester United, they brought in some new players, but this could be one of the most competitive years. Liverpool, I think, will be there all the way. Chelsea, all the way. Manchester City, all the way. Arsenal, all the way. Tottenham, all the way. Manchester United, all the way. And last week, I predicted Man United would win. Now, it doesn't necessarily look like they will. I'm going to say Tottenham could possibly win. I say Tottenham, Arsenal, and Liverpool should be the favorites. I think Liverpool will continue to play as well in Daniel Sturridge, but you never know. But it's just so wide open. Lots of stuff going on. And now we're going to move over to La Liga, where we have a couple more teams tied at the top. Barcelona, Atletico Madrid. and Villarreal, as well as Real Madrid, are all tied at 9 wins. So, obviously, teams having some success up there. Biggest surprise, Villarreal, the Yellow Submarine, finally battling their way back up there. A couple of years, they were really good. Then they dropped off, but obviously still showing that they still got it. In this, I think that Real Madrid is only going to get better. It will be tough to pull out the win over Barcelona, but I still expect Real Madrid to be able to do it. Actually, I'm going to say they're going to pull it off this year. I still don't think they'll get that Champions League, but I think that Barcelona will make it very good. I think Barcelona will have the lead for most of the year, but I'm going to predict Real Madrid first, Barcelona second, and Atletico third. So obviously, yeah, my picks are changing from week to week. Next, we're going to go to Serie A, where all the teams have only played 2 games, the least out of any league. And at the top, we have Napoli, one of the big spenders, Inter, AS Roma, Fiorentina, and Juventus. Juventus, on one of our UCLA broadcasts, we were a little bit hating on them, saying that they were a disappointment because they weren't playing up to their potential. But they're back to their level. Obviously, it was almost a fluke, that performance. I think we used it a little bit too much as an example, even though it was more of a friendly type tournament. But yeah. Then at the top, Napoli with 6 points, 5 goal differential. Obviously, lots of big signings boosting them. And in the end, I'm still going to pick Juventus to win this, with Napoli in second. And I'm going to go with AC Milan, despite losing a game, in third. But it will be an interesting year there as we continue to watch it. Next, we're going to go to the Bundesliga. It's a 2-team race, even though the standings may not 100% reflect that, as Leverkusen, Hannover, and Mainz are still in it. But at first, you've got Dortmund, has not lost a game yet. Bayern has tied one. So Dortmund, obviously those signings still enough. Great signings, yield great rewards. But I'm going to still pick Bayern to win this. It'll be tight. So that's good there. Next, we're going to go on to League One. And AS Monaco defeated Marseille over the weekend to get back to the top of the table. So that's big for Monaco. The big spenders now at 10 points. Riviere, who has been on fire, as well as Falcao scored. It's looking very good for the AS Monaco team, and I think they're going to hang on in first. I think PSG will finish in second. Maybe not playing as well as they should be at the beginning of the year, but they'll get back to their normal playing. Don't worry about that. They still have this. And then we're going to go to the MLS, maybe a slightly less popular league. And I'm going to do a quick rundown, and then I'm going to talk about why I think I'm going to talk about one of my favorite teams, the Chicago Fire. But first, let's go to the top. Montreal Impact currently in first with 42 points. They are tied, but have 2 games on the Red Bulls. Sporting Kansas City also tied with them. They have the same amount. The Sporting Kansas City and the Red Bulls have both played 27 games. Then also playing 27 games, the Philadelphia Union with 39. The Revolution with 37 points. Dynamo with 37. The Fire with 35. Just a prediction, I think Montreal is starting to pull themselves out as the favorites. I think they'll take this. Then we go to the Western Conference. Real Salt Lake, 2 games more played than LA Galaxy. Real Salt Lake has 48 points. Galaxy with 43. Sounders with 40. Rapids with 39. Timbers with 39. Whitecaps with 37. And in 7th place, FC Dallas with 37. And even still in the race, San Jose with 34. And I feel a little stupid now with the Western Conference. Obviously, my soccer prediction's not doing so well, unfortunately. The Timbers, I predicted them at UCLA to be able to take over number 1 in the Western Conference. But instead, they've slipped from 3rd to 5th. So that's tough. I do see Real Salt Lake now winning this. LA Galaxy will make it tight. I think they're the favorite to come out of that side. But Real Salt Lake will win they'll win the regular season for most points there in the Western Conference. And now we're going to talk about the Fire. So, my cousin and my aunt and uncle, they're season ticket holders. And they went to the game. They tied 1-1. And then they come back and tell me that they are statistically out of the playoffs. But unfortunately, that's not true. Wait one sec, I'll be right back. Gotta deal with something really quickly. Oh, never mind. Just my dog barking in the background. But, yeah. So, that's big. The Fire apparently were out of the playoffs based on my cousin's predictions. They said there's no way statistically they could make it to the playoffs. But that is a lie. 37 points for the Revolution is what's keeping them in the playoffs. The Fire have 35 and they played one less game. So how are they out of it? They win that game, the Revolution lose that game, the Fire are back in the playoffs. It's ridiculous to say they're out of the playoffs. Obviously, they haven't paid attention to the playoffs at all. Obviously, they have no concept of what it is right now. You have to pay attention. Don't make kind of outlandish statements that aren't in any way true. The Fire have 9 games left. That's so many games to bypass the Dynamo and the Revolution. So that's ridiculous. Know what you're talking about before you say anything. But yeah, sorry for that little interruption where I thought I had to go get my dog in. Luckily I don't have to do that. But we will have to take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to be talking a little international soccer. So yeah, stick around.
Hi, this is Sam Rosen, and I'm here with Sam's Situation.
Good afternoon and welcome into the corner. It's Chris's Corner here on Spreaker.com, a national sports affiliate.
Hello and welcome to the Cameron Sadeghi Show.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Deep Sports Talk League. This is affiliated with National Sports.
Cameron Sadeghi, Chris Sylvester, Sam Rosen, Andrew Goldstein, Daniel Levy, and the entire broadcast crew with Commissioner Robert Dieters. You are live from National Sports Radio Station in Los Angeles, California.
Turn my headphones up. Louder.
What you need, what you need, I got what you need, what you need, what you need, what you need, I got what you need.
Welcome back to Football Weekly. It's still being Noah Taborda on our second episode, and we're going to break down some international soccer, talk about that. It's that time again. It's that time of year again. We're getting very close to the final World Cup draw, and it's just exciting for me as a soccer fan to know that we're that much closer to the World Cup. So it's going to be big, and it all starts this Friday. But before we get into the scores, we got to talk about some standings, how it's going all over the world, how Europe's going, how South America's doing. So let's dive into in my opinion, the best part of the best confederation of soccer, and that would be the UEFA Europe. In case you don't know, I think they're the best. But let's see how their groups are going. In just quick off, Group A is Belgium, Croatia, Serbia, Wales, Macedonia, and Scotland. Group B, Italy, Bulgaria, Czech Republic, Armenia, Denmark, Malta. Group C, Germany, Austria, Sweden, Ireland, Kazakhstan, and Faroe Islands. Group D, Andorra, Estonia, Turkey, Romania, Hungary, and Netherlands. Group E, Switzerland, Albania, Iceland, Norway, Slovenia, Cyprus. Group F, Azerbaijan, Luxembourg, North Ireland, Israel, Russia, Portugal. Group G, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Greece, Slovakia, Lithuania, Latvia, and Liechtenstein. Group H, Montenegro, England, Ukraine, Poland, Moldova, San Marino. And Group I, Belarus, Georgia, Finland, France, and Spain. Whew. That was tough. In case you didn't hear all of them, don't worry, we're going to break it down now, and we're going to start. Again, let me catch my breath right there. Let's start with Group A, and the only team that is assured at least second place in their group, which would, by the way, mean that they would at least have a playoff spot. So that's big. They want that playoff spot there. And the only team to at least get second place is Belgium, currently in first. Croatia in second. Scotland has been eliminated. Macedonia, Wales, and Serbia cannot qualify directly. They will at least need the playoffs, but it's looking like we have our two that will pass, and it's looking like Croatia and Belgium are going to run away with this. I still pick Belgium to win this and qualify directly, Croatia going to the playoff. Next, we go to Group B. Nobody automatically qualifying, but in first place, we got Italy, definitely the favorite in that group. In second place, a surprise here, Bulgaria over Czech Republic right now. They could be a surprise team that could make their way into the playoffs and possibly even make their way into the World Cup. Next, we're heading to Group C, where the dominant German team is leading, only tied one game, so obviously they're having their way in most of their games, not really feeling the pressure. That one tie was against Sweden in a ridiculously high-scoring game, 4-4. In second, we have a three-way tie for second, actually, Austria, Sweden, and Ireland. In the end, I do think Sweden will get it, though Austria currently is in that second spot because of a goal differential of plus 10, which is 6 above Sweden and 8 above Ireland. But I do think Sweden will get that second spot and go to the playoff. Now we're going to go to Group D, and I don't think there was ever a question about this. Netherlands. Oh, by the way, in Group C, Faroe Islands is eliminated. By the way, and Kazakhstan can only qualify through the playoff. But now back to Group D. Netherlands running away with it with 18 points. Also an 18-goal differential, plus 18-goal differential. In second, it's not a very strong one, but Hungary, they're going to the playoff. I don't see them going far. And at the bottom right now, Andorra has yet to get a point. They are one of two teams right now. There's one of three teams. San Marino, them, obviously, and Faroe Islands. They are the only team out of those 0-goal scoring teams not to be eliminated yet, though, so that's a good sign. But not a good sign. Maybe that'll be their highlight of the World Cup, or of the World Cup qualifying. They go back to their management, they're going to say, hey, you know what, we didn't do that bad. At least we were the last 0-goal team not to be eliminated, and we only are down by 17 goals in our goal differential, and haven't scored a goal, but only 17 in our first 6, so, that's not terrible. It's only like 2.9 goals a game. No biggie. But, yeah, Netherlands running away with that. And then on to Group E, the weakest group, and one team here will be making it that doesn't necessarily deserve to make it, and that'll be Switzerland in first. Albania and Iceland and Norway still battling out for third. It doesn't really matter to me who makes it. I don't think the team that makes it will win. Anyways, then we're going to go to Group F. Portugal in first, but Russia and Israel both are trailing them by a game, so they could potentially tie. Israel could potentially make that playoff spot over Russia. You don't know. They could potentially make it, and Portugal could get completely eliminated. But in the end, I see Portugal winning this group, and Russia in second place here. Then I'm going to go to Group G, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Obviously a very solid team. Played against the U.S. They did take a 2-0 lead, but the U.S. fought back. They're currently in first. And I don't think there's any question that they're going to win the group. And Greece will probably come in second. Then we go to Group H, and probably the biggest surprise here. England, not Ukraine, not Poland are leading the group. No, it's Montenegro in first with 14 points. Second, England, and close behind Ukraine with 11. So that's a big surprise. And, so now let's move on to the final one with defending World Cup champions Spain. And they're barely leading their group, only by 1 point above France. I still think they'll pull it out, and France will come in second. And I forgot to do my prediction for Group H. England will take first in the end, and Montenegro will be second and go to the playoff. So, yeah, and the ranking of the second-place teams currently, Greece in first, Russia second, France third, Croatia fourth, Austria fifth, Hungary sixth, Bulgaria seventh, Albania eighth, and England in last place. That's disappointing for England. England at this point would not be in the playoff, unfortunately. Only 8 out of the 9 group teams can make it. So that's how it's going over in Europe. It's looking good, moving on well. It'll be interesting to see how this plans out. A lot of surprises right now, actually. Some people would say that it's not necessarily what people want to pay. They don't want to see England in second. But that's how it's going. And that's how it's going to go. And now we're going to move over to some Central America, some CONCACAF. That's Central American World Cup qualifying, where the U.S. has been very successful, very good, and one of the more favored teams normally in the CONCACAF has struggled. Mexico, in the group, there are 6 teams remaining: Jamaica, Panama, Honduras, Mexico, Costa Rica, and United States. And Mexico only has 8 points, and Panama still within reach to knock them out. United States at 13 points in first, and Costa Rica in second with 11, Mexico with 8, Honduras with 7, and Panama currently just outside of at least the Intercontinental Playoff with 6 points. But Mexico in danger. I do see them making it. I think that in the end, Panama will surprise Honduras, and they will actually end up going to the World Cup. But Panama, Mexico, Costa Rica, and United States will be the top 4 in that group. So that's how the CONCACAF goes. Smaller confederation, not that big, but still important. You never know. Never won a World Cup, but there's a first time for everything. Next, we're going to go continue in the Americas. We're going to South America in the CONMEBOL. Currently in first place, leading by 3 points, but playing one more game than Colombia. Colombia with 23 points, Argentina in first with 26, Ecuador in third with 21, Chile with 21, Uruguay with 16, Venezuela just outside of any spot with 16, and also Peru just outside with 14. Currently, Paraguay and Bolivia in last. Paraguay with 8 points, Bolivia with 10, can only qualify through the playoff. Barcelona, though, has ensured at least a spot in the playoff, so that's good for them. In the end, Colombia, Argentina, Ecuador, I see them easily making it through, as well as Chile, and now it's really a battle for who's going to get that playoff spot, and Uruguay will be bumped, unfortunately. No, you know what? No, I'll go with Uruguay. I just realized that Uruguay's played one less game than Venezuela, so I'll go with Uruguay. One game less, still tied, have a better goal differential. I see Uruguay coming out of that. Tough schedule, but I'll take them as my playoff team, and I think they'll win in their playoff matchup. I don't necessarily think it's too difficult, actually. Who's going to end up winning? I don't think the playoffs don't seem to be the difficulty that they should be, but that's how it goes, unfortunately. But yeah, and now we're gonna move on to the AFC, or Asian Football Confederation, where we have a lot of teams that compete, but we've come down to the final rounds where there are 2 groups, and currently Iran and South Korea have qualified. Japan and Australia also in there as well. And there is a competition now. The 5th round, the 2 teams that finished 3rd in the group will fight for a spot in the continental playoff against the 5th place CONMEBOL. I don't really think that either Jordan or Uzbekistan can defeat Uruguay if they make it, or Venezuela if Venezuela does make it. But still gotta acknowledge them. Next, we're gonna go on to Africa. Africa, very big continent that has somehow never won a World Cup. So that's surprising, but it doesn't mean they can't, just like CONCACAF. And obviously a lot of teams in Africa, 2 little teams making it. And we are all the way down to the groups. Currently, Senegal leading over Uganda in Group J. I'm going to go backwards just because I feel like it. By 1.9 to 8, I do think Senegal will qualify with only 1 game remaining. In Group I, we have Cameroon leading Libya by 1 point. Cameroon will take this. In Group H, it's all over. Algeria has made it through. By the way, the teams that win these groups don't go to the World Cup. They go into matches where the winner of those matches will go on. So obviously, it's very difficult to qualify. But now we're going to go on from Group H to Group G, and Bob Bradley has done a terrific job with Egypt as they have qualified for at least the next round of the competition. In Group F, Malawi surprising, very close to the top with Nigeria, but Nigeria, with 2 points on them, will end up winning this group. Then we go to Group E, still 3 teams, one of the only groups with 3 teams. Them in Group A, they have Congo, Burkina Faso, and Gabon all in it, but Congo will come out of it despite Burkina Faso's big pressure of only 1 point difference. I'm going to take Congo in this one, though. Next, Group D, Ghana and Zambia, and I'm going to take Zambia in a surprise. Zambia will come out and win this game, and they're playing against Ghana, so the winner of this game will qualify. A tie will mean Ghana qualifies, though. But I'm going to take Zambia in this one. They won it before the African Cup of Nations. I think they're going to their first World Cup, upsetting one of the big teams in Ghana. Group C, it's all over as well. Ivory Coast has taken it by 5 points over Morocco. Next, we go to Group B, Tunisia with a 2-point lead over Cape Verde, but I'm still taking Tunisia. I think they'll hold on. And now to the other group with only 3 teams. The ex-host of the World Cup in 2010 is 2 points behind leader Ethiopia, and unfortunately, South Africa will not be heading back to the World Cup, as Ethiopia, in my opinion, will take this group. And now we go on to the last confederation, and that will be Oceania. Not a big confederation. We already know who's coming out of that, and that will be Australia. New Zealand, I don't think they'll win their playoff, so don't worry about Oceania. Not a big one. And now we're going to go into a quick rundown of the scores. On Friday, big day. Croatia, Serbia, Belgium, Scotland. Good games in Group A. Italy will play Bulgaria, the top 2. Big shot for Bulgaria to stake their claim in the World Cup. So that's good. That's big for them. Then you've got Andorra looking for their first win, or first goal for that matter, against Turkey. Netherlands against Estonia in Group D. Group E, obviously the weakest group. Switzerland continues to try to hold on to that group. Russia will play Luxembourg, Portugal, Northern Ireland, so Israel is not in action on Friday. Bosnia and Herzegovina will play Slovakia. England against Moldova in Group H. And then later on in the day, Ukraine, San Marino, and Poland, Montenegro. San Marino obviously out. And then in Group I, France and Spain will both be in action. France against Georgia and Spain versus Finland. So not necessarily a stud matchups there. But in CONMEBOL, we have some big ones. Colombia, Ecuador, number 2 and number 3, should be up for a good match. Uruguay against Peru, as Peru looks to inch closer to Uruguay and that spot in the playoff. Chile, Venezuela. Venezuela currently at 16 points, trying to get their way into the playoff as well. Chile starting to stake their claim as a team that will not need the playoffs. So it's more, this game is a more do-or-die situation for Venezuela. CONCACAF, United States will take on Costa Rica as they look to extend their lead at the top of the table. That'll be big. You should tune in for that one. And like I said, Zambia versus Ghana. That's the game I'll be watching. I'm going for Zambia, obviously. It's my favorite African team. I think they'll hang on and win this. That'll be at 12 p.m. on Friday. A couple of international friendlies, not many big things. Japan, Guatemala, China, Singapore, and Belarus versus Kyrgyzstan. Not much going on there, but never hurts to watch a little soccer, even if it's not the big one. And then we go to Saturday, Israel getting in action against Azerbaijan, and depending how Russia does or Portugal does, Israel could have a shot to tie or pass one of them, so that's big for them. But that's all that's going on in Europe. And then when you go to Africa, South Africa battling for their spot in the last day. Ethiopia and South Africa will not be playing, but that still doesn't matter. It's still big there. Tunisia versus Cape Verde. The winner, if Cape Verde can win, they'll take over. But if Tunisia can at least tie, they'll have that. Ivory Coast against Morocco. Obviously, that one's over. Niger versus Congo should be a decent game. Burkina Faso against Gabon. Congo trying to hold on. Nigeria versus Malawi. Nigeria already took this, so don't expect them to be playing their best players. And then in the MLS, the Chicago Fire playing off against the Seattle Sounders FC. And once again, if the Fire win, New England loses, and Houston loses, they can be back in the playoff picture, so that's big for them. That's about it on the international football. Brazil will play Australia in a friendly, but that's about it. There is some Africa on Sunday, but it's not many. There are not really any big games. Some Major League Soccer, but that's basically it for the weekend. So, that's there's some good games there. Obviously, you want to watch mainly to see what's going to end up happening, how the teams will run down. And yeah, so that's basically what you want to do. And now it's time to do our weird soccer news we're going to first talk about stolen penalty spots. Yes, apparently a Belgium club's penalty spots have been stolen. Oh, that's a little weird. Not only one team, but 9 teams had their penalty spots dug up and taken. So that's weird. I'm not sure what the value of those penalty spots are, but I expect to be popping up on the black market anytime soon. Next, we have a story that is more embarrassing than funny, and a newspaper in Spain misspelled, or a news article on, oh, this is even worse, on Real Madrid's official website misspelled Welsh. They spelled it Welch. W-E-L-C-H. Oh, that's not a good way to start out with your new player. That's a little embarrassing. But the first Welsh player ever to play on Real Madrid. Welch. Sounds like a bruise or like a bump or something. What is it? Welt. Sounds like a welt. Next, we're going to go to another soccer story, and this one is pertaining to Usain Bolt. In case you don't know, he tried to try out with the Manchester United, did not make it, but was he angry after the loss to Liverpool, telling the manager to buy a creative midfielder, basically going on a rant against David Moyes. So obviously Usain Bolt, as a diehard fan, is not happy. Hopefully this all blows over and Manchester United starts to win again, so Usain Bolt can be happy once again. And he basically said, I'm Usain Bolt and I'm a big Manchester United fan. David Moyes, we need a creative midfielder, one that can pass and create opportunities right now. So he shouted that part, obviously wants that to happen. We'll see what happens with Manchester United. And our last thing will be a YouTube video. I was trying to play it for you guys last week. It is the My Anus clip, the MMA fighter who unfortunately had his name mispronounced. And here we go. Let's play the tape.
Trying to slice Manus open. Consistently testing that midsection of Manus. Manus getting beaten on. What's the back of the head? Could be in trouble here, Manus. But Manus is relaxed here, Pat. Still riding the back of Manus. Good defense here from Manus. Manus flattened out. Manus flat on the canvas. We are ready to rock and roll. Second round of action. There is a cut on Manus. Manus is ready to pounce here. The rip shoots in early. Manus defends it. Manus is in a bit of pain here.
You watch one, I'll watch the other, Michael.
I'll watch Manus. Manus taking a thumb scathed, and the ringside physician has just popped in there to look at Manus. Manus trying to work the clinch. You hear the referee saying, stay busy, Danny. He's left the arm in as Manus. Manus could be in trouble. Manus just stuck here. When he pops the head out. Manus all bloodied up here.
Well, Manus is bleeding all over Chavez's chest.
Manus just bleeding all over Chavez. The corner crew go to work on the cut on Manus.
So there you go. Sorry I couldn't play it for you last week. Obviously, that's bad mispronunciation. The guy would go on to tweet after realizing what he said. And there's one questionable point in there where you think maybe he was just doing it and he did know about it, where he says his anus. So maybe he wasn't being serious, but it's still funny nonetheless. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye. Hopefully you enjoyed this second episode. I know I did. Tune in next week. Probably we'll be back to Wednesday. Unfortunately, tomorrow I couldn't do it, so it was today. But tune in next Wednesday for another episode. And, of course, tune in this Sunday for Blake and Noah, LA to Chicago, our 5th episode. And we'll be covering college football, week 1 of the NFL. It's going to be a busy weekend, busy show, and we're ready for another great show. So, for all of Chicago, thanks for tuning in, and have a good night.